Hello again, and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC, and I want to have a little bit of fun with this video. It's been a while since we've kind of come back a little bit and just, had a little bit of some lightheartedness and things like that. It's not all doom and gloom. It's not all full on, absolute 100% serious. We can still have some fun. And if you looked at the thumbnail of this, I put, are you Iron Man or are you Batman? Now, what does that have to do with preparedness and survival, right? Well, let's look at them for just a second. What are they compared to Superman or the Incredible Hulk or any of the other people in these comic book realm of characters? They don't have superpowers. Now, what do they both have in common? Well, they're incredibly rich and they go through and build elaborate devices that help them become equal. There we go. Because if we was to take all their fancy toys away and put them up against somebody with powers, would they stand a chance? Probably not, right? So, my question back to you is, are you going to be the Batman or the Iron Man, or are you going to be one with the superpowers? Because there's a lot of preppers out there that do have a lot of disposable money and they think that they can buy their way through an SHTF situation. Now, some of them are doing it the smart way. I give them some credit because, yes, they are going out and they're just buying the latest and greatest, fanciest gadgets, the new, the shiny, the the fun stuff, if you will, but they're also using them and they're practicing and they're in, pretty good or really good shape. And um, they're taking classes and courses and things like that. So they're taking some of the physical and they're applying it with the new stuff. And yeah, that makes them pretty good. The only thing is, though, is what happens if they're caught with their pants down and they don't have any of that stuff on them? They're not very well off. Us, on the other hand, it shouldn't really matter because our stuff is with us. We should have EDC things that we have every single day. It should be on your pocket, it should be on your person, hence EDC. We should have get home bags, car bags. We should always have our stuff with us. Thus, that gives us our superpowers. And really, what I kind of want to go into when I do this is that there's a bunch of misconceptions when it comes to survival skills. Now, what I mean by that is there's many a TV show and many a survival movies that portray a very complex and even very overwhelming picture that people will tend to try and follow. They will get into some sort of scenario and they're going to try and do this. Well, I saw it in a movie, or I saw this on whatever prepping show or whatever, and it's probably not going to turn out very well. Excuse me. And so those pictures and movies and different things like that, they don't focus on essential survival skills. Actually, they portray more of the fancy tricks and things like that that may actually hinder one's process and progress. And really, what they should do is teach one to prioritize survival skills that are adaptable to a very diverse array of situations, because that's really what it's going to be in reality. Now, I understand why they don't, right? Hollywood makes it to where that's got to be captivating. It's got to capture your attention. It's got to look good and be sexy. Otherwise, it's something that probably nobody's going to pay to watch. And so, if you know me, if you have watched this channel at any given time, you know that I have preached fundamentals. And why? Well, it's KISS. No, not the band. No, I don't want to kiss you. I'm saying the acronym. Keep it simple, stupid. There is a very big importance on simplicity. the things of focusing on the basics, the food, the water, the shelter, the first aid, things like that, because those are the things that's going to more than likely in most survival situations are going to be the things that you face. You have to eat and drink. You have to be able to uh, render some sort of basic first aid. Being able to start a fire, to get warm, to signal for help, to cook food, to purify water, to the shelter that'll give you maybe some cover or concealment, get you out of the elements, things like that. These are very basic things. And for somebody to be able to master a few of those techniques, well, one, it's going to be more reliable, and two, it's going to be more efficient. You can go through and learn all those fancy skills, but they're not the ones that are reliable and efficient. Really, case in point, how many of you, when you get up in the morning and you go to put your pants on, do you take your pants, sit on the edge of the bed, put one foot in, put the other foot in, stand up, pull your pants on? Okay, there we go. Or are you person number two, where you stand there, hold your pants, jump up, and in midair, stab your feet into them, ripping them up to your waist and stick the landing? Now, here's the thing. At the end of it, if we were both successful, then okay, we put our pants on. Mine was a routine. Yours was very flashy. The only thing is, though, is mine is much more reliable. It takes the danger level down significantly. The other person, yes, it looked cool, but it made it to where the level of getting injured or failure is extremely high. So why would we put ourselves through that? That's why we do things that are reliable and efficient. What we want to do is try to or avoid unnecessary complexities. We want to focus more on the practicality of the things. It's fun to sit back, and we enjoy entertainment of watching, people do very flashy things, all the smoke and mirrors and stuff. It's great for, entertainment values and all those purposes of taking your mind off things and whatever on that. But we're trying to survive. I don't want to be put in a high level of danger. I don't want flashy. I want what will work, what gives me the highest chances of being able to get the job done with as little um, danger to myself and others as possible. So, one of the things that I kind of want to bring up is I've watched a fair amount of prepping related things on the television and whatnot. And I see a lot of people that go through and they build really elaborate traps and all these other things to try and catch food and things like that. And I don't like them. Um, I mean, I get there's the movies out there that yet are they're entertaining, but those really elaborate traps are so time consuming. They take up quite a bit of material and different things, and oftentimes they're not very effective. And so, if we are trying to copy that in an SHTF, we're burning a lot of calories, we're taking up a lot of time, we're probably not going to get the payout, and we're using a lot of supplies and resources, and it's just not practical. Um, there's a lot of them that they go through and they're doing like really advanced foraging, and people will try and copy that, but without having that fundamental basic knowledge of the uh, things that are in your area, because it requires extensive knowledge to be able to recognize a plant and know what its purposes are. Is it edible? Is it only edible if you cook it? Is only this part of it edible? Because if you don't know these things, it can be very dangerous, if not deadly. So I don't like that they portray things like that. And then one of the last ones I want to touch on is the survival weaponry. All these really elaborate things where people are pulling down stop signs and taking wrenches and whatever, and they're building these zombie apocalypse weaponry. It's just not practical, right? You're using up time and resources, and they're just not going to be the thing that you're probably going to want to do. Moreover, you would probably want to focus more on like a self-defense class. And if anything, probably the thing that I would recommend is situational awareness. Just be mindful and don't put yourself in that situation. Don't be in the area. Don't go anywhere that hey, there's a high likelihood that I'm going to have to get into some sort of confrontation, or physical confrontation. So be situationally aware, and just know what's going on around you, and you probably can take yourself out of that. So but one of the things that we can kind of do is learn some of these essential skills. So, fire starting. It is a fundamental skill for warmth, cooking, signaling, all sorts of things like that. And we don't have to get fancy. There's a lot when it comes to fire that I think people tend to skip steps and they skip around. The first thing with fire is we need what, three things, right? You need some sort of ignition, you need some sort of fuel, and you need oxygen. Well, for the most part, oxygen's all around us, so check that box off. But when it comes to fuel, you can have a flamethrower, but if you don't have fuel, you're not really going to do much, right? So learning the fuel, what is burnable, and what it is, because you don't want to grab something and start burning it, and yet will it burn? Yeah, it'll burn, but are you releasing really really thick black smoke? Are you releasing toxic chemicals and things like that? Because you don't want to throw a piece of trapped animal meat over wood that has been treated for the outdoors, or specially treated wood, because all you're doing is burning those chemicals into the meat, and it's going to make you very very sick or worse. So uh, I think there's a lot of people that are skipping out on basically the first step, your fuel. Where are you getting it from? What are you actually burning? How much of it do you need? How to prepare it? How to get it ready? How to have it to where you are going to be able to maintain it? How to build the fuel so that way you know your level of fire. Um, there's people out there that do not know those steps, and honestly, I treat fire like I do when I take people for firearms. You don't give somebody a loaded firearm from day one and just say let them rip, tater chip. You go in steps. The actual putting ammunition into firearm is one of the last steps. So I tend to do, when I teach fire, we don't actually have matches or lighters or flint and steel or ferrocerium rod until we're ready for it. So just putting that out there. But that's also the same thing with water purification, because we all need to drink and stay hydrated. Same thing with medical and things like that. There's steps involved until we actually get to do the hands-on part. Uh, because when we talk about any of the fundamental stuff, we need to take steps back and learn and build up our foundation until we get to that point. I think a lot of people go through and they do these in various orders and they skip steps and things like that. And then the next thing you know, um, you have a situation to where they go in with a false sense of security that, okay, I need to build a fire. I've been taught this in a class, and they run out and they grab some stuff and they do what they were taught in class. And did they get a fire? Yeah, they did. But the only thing is, though, is they didn't get the point of how to structurally build the fire, or they didn't get enough to maintain the fire, or all the different fundamental things that go into it, and you're setting yourself up for failure. So, but let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're getting in a little deep. Um, when we talk about preparedness, what the ultimate kind of goal is staying prepared for the unexpected, right? We don't know what's going to happen. If we had a crystal ball and we know exactly what was going to happen, when was going to happen, how long it was going to happen, things like that, we could probably prepare for it to perfection. Say that 3 times fast. And so what we've got to do is we've got to give it our best educated guess that we possibly can. And so we try and cover as many bases as we can. Those are building emergency kits, a very well stocked kit for the most probable things that could happen in your life. That is going to be a lifesaver. Making sure that the most fundamental things of having something to drink, some sort of snack and food, basic first aid, things like that, because it covers a wide a range of things. Uh, to know that we need something to drink, something to eat, things like that, no matter what. It doesn't matter whether it's peacetime, wartime, the zombie apocalypse, and everything in between. We still need to be able to eat, drink, have some sort of access to first aid, have some sort of access to shelter, things like that. And it all comes down to knowledge is power. Learning the stuff now while you can. Take courses, take classes, jot down notes, and figure out what works best for you. Stay informed as best as you can. Do it to everything that is local, for all local hazards and weather patterns and things like that. Do it regionally and do it nationally, because it all can come back. Something that's happening across the pond on the other side of the world may find its way here. So we still need to make sure that we have our eye and ear open, so that way we have some sort of advanced notice. Uh, doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen, but at least we have prior knowledge of it. And the mentality, do what you can now to try and uh, get yourself conditioned to stay calm during a crisis, being able to calmly think strategically when something happens, to keep that cool, calm, and collective nature, um, is going to greatly increase your odds. Um, Most people will probably panic, and we all know that when you panic, you start making irrational decisions. You start trying to make decisions based on emotions, and those usually lead to very poor and sometimes dangerous and even fatal outcomes. So we got to do what we can and do our best to try and mitigate that. A lot of survival is to mitigate the risks and do what we can to foresee potential dangerous and bad things, and do what we can to get the necessary training, tools, gears, gadget, whatever, so that way we can conduct ourselves safely as we go through and try and get out the other end of whatever SHTF situation comes. Um, when we go through and we talk about SHTF, remember, it can be personal. Just because the sunshine is coming through your windows and the birds are singing and life is good, doesn't mean that somebody not too far away is going through a very rough SHTF situation. So we never know when our number is going to be called and when that situation is going to come for us. Um, whether it be something small, whether it be something localized, regional, or national, or even worldwide, God forbid, uh, the chances are out there. It's not zero. And to be able to go through and keep your ears open and keep on reading, keep on learning, do what you can to try and learn as much as you can, and then take that knowledge and actually put it out to your fingertips. Try it real world. Just because you read it and it makes sense doesn't mean it's for you. Just because you watched a YouTube video or you did, whatever classes, whatever way you learned something, and you watched 100 people do it on their first attempt, and you're like, wow, that's super easy. You got to remember that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to make sure that you understand everything that you are trying to take in, whether you're reading it or watching it. Just because it comes in here needs to transfer from here out to here. And there's a lot of people that they skip those steps. I've gone to a wide range of classes, and I have watched people that are teaching how to start a fire, and they have been teaching those courses for years, and they go through and they teach and teach and teach, and everything's good, and then all of a sudden it just something happens during that one class. The spark's not taking hold, or something's not, and they're having a little bit of trouble. The very best of us, the ones that have a ton of skill, a ton of knowledge, a ton of experience, still can have failure. So we have to be prepared for that as well, and to have backup plans, and to know when this fails, what is going on that's causing the failure. Can I fix it? Is there something that needs adjusted? There's a lot of everything, because remember, uh, when SHTF comes around, it doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care that you're popular or that you're pretty. It doesn't care that you're rich or poor. It doesn't care how experienced or inexperienced you are. So we have to prepare that at any given time, the thing that we have done 1,000 times, suddenly there's a failure point. Okay. Now, it could be something as basic as tying your boot up. You've been tying that bootlace up over and over and over and over. And then all of a sudden, one of the eyelets rips out, or the bootlace breaks, or whatnot. Um, there's failure points in absolutely everything. Remember one of my sayings: anything man made can and will go bad at some point in time. It may be the first use, it may be the 10th use, it may be the 1 millionth use, but nothing man made is going to last forever. So, but I think we've kind of gone over as much as we can for the day. So I hope that you guys learned a little something. Hopefully, this gave a little bit of something for you to sit back and think about, and do what you will with it. So, I hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope you have a blessed day. Stay tuned, because there is more information to come. And with that, please remain united, because we're all prepping in this together.